This is a review of Gemara in Nazir Daf Gimel. So we begin on the bottom of Beis and Beis by the two dots, in which we quote the din of the Mishnah of Ehei Na'ah, I should be beautiful, in which the Mishnah taught that you have a din of a Nazir. On this asks the Gemara, how do you know beautiful means Nazir? Maybe it means I want to be beautiful in mitzvahs. We know Zakeli Van Veyu, Esna Lefanav in mitzvahs, Lulav Na, Sefer Torah Na. We want to do all the mitzvahs beautifully. So how do we know when one says I want to be beautiful that it means a Nazirus? Answers the Gemara, answers Shmuel, an answer that's going to come up many times in Daf Gimel. Shetafus b'sayroi. He's grabbing onto his hair and he says, I want to be beautiful. Then it means he is a Nazir. Says the Gemara, how are we calling Nazirus something beautiful? Nazirus is a dvar avera. Says the Gemara, it's true. But we're going even according to Rav Lazar Akfar, that says a Nazir is a chayte, that a Nazir is an avera, but that's only what type of Nazir? A Nazir that becomes tameh. Then that is when one is considered a chayte. But if one is not, then is not called a chayte, and rather it's going to be it can be called beautiful. We continue quoting the Mishnah, which the Mishnah says, Hareini kazeh, he is a Nazir. Ask the Gemara, even if he's holding on to his hair, how does like this mean on his eros? And now says Shmuel, the second Yesod that's going to come up many times today, that a Nazir is walking in front of him. And we go to case number 3 of today. Hareini misalsel. Says the Gemara, how do we know the word silsil means here? We quote the Amsa, the maid servant of Rebbe, in which she says to the man, how long are you going to curl your hair? So we see the word silsil refers to hair. Says the Gemara, wait, maybe silsil refers to the Torah. Silsil is from Mecha. Says Shmuel, back to Yesod number 1, you're grabbing your hair. Now we go to the next case of the Mishnah. Hareini mechalkel. Ask the Gemara, how do you know that mechalkel refers to the hair? We quoted Mishnah with Rabbi Yehuda that he says that sid, some sort of line that removes makeup, removes some hair type of removal item, and the Mishnah over there calls the kilkol as the temples. So we see that you're putting this hair removal item on the temples to remove the hair. So we see that kilkol refers to the hair. Says Mara, wait, maybe kilkol like we say in benching every day, and like we had in the parsha, vayichalkel Yosef, maybe it means to support the aniyim. Says Shmuel, you side back to number 1, shetafas b'sayroi, that he's grabbing onto his hair. And we go into the next case of the Mishnah. Harei olai l'shaleach bera. He says, I should be shaleach to grow my hair. He's a Nazir. Ask the Gemara, how do we know shiluach means ribuye, to grow? We know from the pasuk of Shalachayich Pardes Rimonim. Says Gemara, wait, maybe it means to remove, as we see in another pasuk. Answers the Gemara, we learn how pera, a gzeir sarkasav kadosh yagadol pera, and it says by kohen hadidu pera lo yishalechu, and therefore we learn out that it means to grow. So when someone says arei l'shaleach pera, it means to grow his hair. It is a form of nazirus. Or another reason is that we could say shaleach mayim also is ribuye kan mashkele mayim. It means to increase lepari v'ravi, to increase the water. And the next case of the Mishnah, re'laitzi pairin. Here we have a machlok. As Rameir says he's a Nazir. Why does Rameir say he's a Nazir? So we're going to have 2 answers. Answer number 1 is Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish's answer, you say this is the answer for the rest of today's daf, that in the Sipairin Semuchin L'Seir, that in the Torah, when it writes about Sipairin, about birds, it puts it next to Seir, to the hair, and that's how we know, says Rav Meir, that matvis inshi b'midi disamichle. Then when people talk and he says, I want to bring birds, he's referring to where the Torah wrote about birds, which is where? Next to the hair, which means he should be. Continues the Gemara, the Rabbanan argue on Rav Meir. And what do the Rabbanan hold? Loi matvis inshi b'midi disamichle. So if someone says, I want to bring birds, he doesn't necessarily mean niziros, because the people don't necessarily talk utilizing words that are next to other words in the Torah. That's how Reish Lakish answers up Rav Meir and the Chachamim, their machlokes, and Rav Meir in the Mishnah. Rav Yochanan argues, and Rav Yochanan says really everyone doesn't talk that way. Loi matvis. Ella, what's the reason for Rav Meir that if you say you're going to bring the birds, it means Naziros? Cause we're chayshish. What does he mean? Sipayri Nazir Tameh. That's what he had in mind. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. Maybe he meant just to bring in a dove of birds. Says the Gemara, if that was his intent, he would have just said Cain. Maybe he means Sipayri of Mitzayra. How do you know he means Nazir? Says the Gemara, back to Yesod number 1 of today. Nazir, Iver Lefanav is a Nazir passing by. Says Gemara, wait, this is a Nazir passing by, and he says, I'm going to bring the carbon of a Nazir. Maybe he wants to bring it for that guy. How do we know he's accepting upon himself Nazirus? Says the Gemara, is a Nazir Tahar, Iver Lefanav. Now, and with this, we basically conclude what is the practical difference between Reish Lakish and Rav Yochanan. Reish Lakish says they're arguing whether one talks in proximity of the Torah that Tzipayirin birds are next to hair, and Rav Yochanan says no, everyone agrees they do not talk that way. The difference is, he says explicitly, I want to bring birds next to hair. According to Rav Yochanan, which was the second explanation, even though he says this, it's only going to be an if what? There was a Nazir passing by, if not. Whereas according to Reish Lakish, even if a Nazir is not passing by, it's going to work. And finally, we conclude with the Gemara explaining, is there such an entity that people are not mafis, something that next door to it? That's the normal way people talk. And how do we know that? If someone says, Ari, Yamin, it's a shvua. What's the reason? Because that's the way the Torah talks. So we see that when people talk, they talk in the same way that the Torah talks. Says Gemara, no, that's not a raya, because the word Yemin means a shvu, as we see in a different pasuk, and that is the reason why it is a debatable point if people talk in the way that the Torah talks or not. If people are mafis inshi b'midi desamachlei, machlekes Rav Yochanan, Reish Lakish, explaining the machlekes Rabbanan and Rameir, explaining Rameir in the Mishnah, and we'll have another chazara starting from the Mishnah tomorrow in Mirza Hashem.